Hello and welcome to Sport for Business. I'm joined this morning by Catherine Walsh, one of the country's most decorated Paralympic athletes, and we're going to be chatting about Mayfest, which is very exciting virtual version that's taking place starting next week and running through over 7 days. You're very welcome to Sport for Business, Catherine.
Thank you very much.
Now, when I say decorated, you competed in 5 Paralympic Games across 3 sports. You were an athlete, a cyclist, a triathlete. You ended up with 3 Paralympic medals. What was it like back in the days from 1992 competing in the Paralympics to what it became then through London and Rio and hopefully on to Tokyo?
Oh, I think the Paralympic Games really went through a whole series of transformations over that time. And while there would have been individuals who would have operated at a real high performance level, just the standard and the amount of commitment you have to put in now to even qualify for games is phenomenal compared to when I would have started off. Now, there were some absolutely fantastic athletes went ahead of me and have followed up behind me, and Ireland has had a fantastic history in Paralympic Games, but just the strength and depth in the competitions, the number of events available, like even in 92, I'd say, athletics would have been, I think Ireland had something like 32 representatives in athletics over the disability groups, and blind sports would have had 10 or 11 athletes, whereas now we'd be lucky to have a team of 5. But it's just the whole thing, the professionalism, the amount of support that the athletes get, both financially and also through the sports science supports. You've no business going there unless you've turned over every stone a couple of times and had a good hard look at yourself. So yeah, it really has come on, and it is elite sport for people with physical and sensory disabilities, and to be a Paralympian now, it takes a huge amount of effort. A lot of people are full-time, and it's fantastic to see, and it's the athletes and their supporters and the coaching staff and technology as well, that has driven it on. So it's amazing to see, and it's very empowering to watch for everyone.
I think it would have taken quite some achievement for you to get to there in 1992 as well. What has the lockdown been like? As a person with a sensory disability and aware of the physical disability world, how has lockdown impacted on you from a sporting and a physical activity perspective?
Yeah, I think it's had a huge impact. I suppose from my own point of view, I'm quite lucky in that I have enough vision that I'm able to, if I know the route, I'm able to go and run independently myself. But I'm part of a local triathlon club, and we would have done like open water swimming. We would have had group run sessions, and I would never have really participated in the bike sessions. But like, for me to get to the sea, even though it's not too far from where I live, I need to get a lift with somebody. So, all of those, getting to the venue when even you were in the initial lockdown, it was very difficult for everybody. But then even when that opened up, you were going to become a close contact to somebody. You couldn't ask someone to give you a lift. You didn't want to be on public transport. I was lucky enough to live, my gym is quite close and my pool was open for a little while, so I was able to keep swimming. I haven't been out on my tandem for, I'd say, well over a year, and I'm actually terrified thinking about when I'm going to have to, what that's going to feel like going back outside. I suppose I could have got the sports pass that Vision Sport did get granted through the Sport Ireland, that I could have got a named guide, but I work as a healthcare professional and the clients I was working with were particularly vulnerable, so I opted not to do that. So I've been on turbo sessions, Zoom sessions with my pals in the triathlon club Tuesdays and Saturdays, and we've been doing like a strength and conditioning group on a Monday, which I get to lead, so it's nice. I get to dish out a bit of torture to a few people. But I think it has been very, very difficult. And as I said, I'm probably lucky. If you were totally blind, you know, and you needed a guide runner, I can imagine it really, really has been hard to stay motivated. And I'm finding having the confidence to go back out there and is difficult as well. Sometimes when I'm running, I think people might think I'm not getting out of their way quick enough, but I'm afraid to come off my route, because I basically, if you track me, I'm on the same path every time I do a lap of the same place. So yeah, it has been really hard. And like, I enjoy training and I like staying fit. So I can imagine for someone who maybe wouldn't be as motivated as myself, it just, you know, it really, you know, you just lose momentum and it's difficult, you know. So I think it has been more difficult for us. Still it's having an impact now. Yeah,
it is very difficult in a time when people are more tense and nervous and everything like that as well. That idea of you needing to stick to your path and others not being aware is something that most runners just wouldn't have to contend with. So it's one of the many areas that you have to sort of double down on your commitment when you have got a disability. You contribute back into the sport. You're on the Athletes Commission in Paralympics Ireland. What has it been like for our best of the best athletes now getting ready for Tokyo?
Yeah, that has been. I think that has been just a huge. Do not underestimate the challenge that has been. And I mean, I'm sure we have, you know, Jason Smith. You know, he would be one of the, you know, Ireland's top performers over the last few years. And like, so we've people who have qualified, and you know, the stress is wondering, you know, trying to stay fit, trying to stay focused, not getting enough competition, all these things that you would normally do to try and make sure, you know, physically, mentally, that you're in your best position you can be. That's all being pulled. A lot of people, I think, liked the downtime last year and allowed them to focus on what they were doing. And for the athletes, the feedback I'm sort of getting, the feel I'm getting is, for the athletes that are already qualified, they just have to focus on, you know, keeping doing what they do and keeping healthy and well and hoping that it all goes to plan. But then there's the whole next group who are still trying to qualify. So they are trying to find competitions. Then there's the whole issue around travel, then the quarantine. I have to say, it must be an absolute nightmare. I mean, trying to qualify for games alone is a very stressful journey to take yourself down. And this on top of it is just mind blowing, to be honest. So hats off to those people who are committed and still driving forward. And I do hope that the games will go ahead. So we just have to wait and see now.
We do indeed. I suppose the motto of any athlete is to first and foremost control the controllables, and this has been the ultimate uncontrollable.
Exactly. And there's so many unknowns, and there's so many things out of your control. Like if you're in a pod and someone in your group is unlucky enough to contract it, then, you know, you could be, you know, it's just, you know, the travel alone, sitting on an airplane. I think, you know, I'd be quite, I don't know. I don't think it would have been for me. So I'm actually quite impressed with how they've been dealing with it. And I do think, particularly for the younger, you know, for the athletes who maybe this might be their first games, I'm not sure that their experience is going to be comparable to, say, what we've seen over the last couple of games, like we had in, you know, in London and in Rio, just, you know, where, you know, they were fantastic games. So
hopefully some of them will be able to look to you and think, well, if Catherine was able to go to 5 Paralympic Games, maybe their next one will be better in Paris or Los Angeles.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think if this was going to be your first games, I would still say plow ahead and try and qualify and get that games experience, because it'll only be a 3-year cycle then into Paris. And you know, it would give you a good basis, but I can't think that the experience will be what a normal games experience would be.
We all have to start somewhere on every journey. Jason Smith's first competitive outing was at Mayfest back in 2005 when he ran in the 100 meters. Little could we have imagined that day at ALSA that it would blossom into the career that he has had. But we're back again. Mayfest, in its 40th year now, gets underway next weekend, and it will run through the entire 7 days. It will, of course, be different. How important is a festival like this to actually introduce the people who have got challenges with their sight and a sighted sensory disability, to actually get them involved in sport?
Oh, I think it's hugely important, because sometimes for anyone joining something new, and this was only something that I realized as an adult. I always thought it was because of my sight loss. I was kind of anxious about going to something new, but I realize now that, most people would have those anxieties. So, but as a younger person, you might be a little bit hesitant about, say, just going down to your local club or, trying to find information. So this whole festival is, again, I'm going to use that word, very empowering. It's like, you get the opportunity where everyone comes together, so you can meet people who have been there, done that, and people who are just starting off, and you can try out new events, new things. I actually think the last Mayfest that I attended personally, I nearly ended up injured. We were there was mentors from Coola GAA club, and we were having a go at Gaelic football. So you just don't know what you're going to do, what activities you could see, what's available to you. And then, like, the ideal thing is then kind of, they will help you make your a network in your local area, so that you can sort of be integrated into your society, into your locality, so that it's another aspect to your life. But I think people are a little bit nervous to get started, and sometimes parents are nervous, and sometimes rightly so. They might have that anxiety. I was lucky because I have a brother and sister older than me who have the same eye condition, and I'm one of 8 kids, so I'm the second youngest. So I think by the time I came along, it didn't really matter that I was going down the road on roller skates or off on my bike somewhere, because they were so busy trying to keep track of us all. But I think sometimes when parents might be slightly they may be slightly overprotective, and I think as a young person, it's a fantastic opportunity to go and let them have a taste of everything, so that when it comes up in PE in school, or when it comes up in this, they know, I've done that before. That's not totally alien to them. I think the development of the VI tennis has been brilliant. I've had a little go at that. My favorite thing at the Mayfest, though, I'm going to tell you, Rob, has always been the tug of war. Have you ever witnessed that at the festival? It's actually just like such a good team building, awesome event, sighted or non-sighted. It just brings out the best in everybody. But it really is a good opportunity for, so maybe for parents, for young kids, to get a taster, then for the older ones to kind of meet up with people we've known over the years, and just to see how everyone's getting on. Like, for some people, they might be trying to get a qualifying time to go to Europeans, and other people, they might be on a complete high because they've had a go in a tandem for the first time. So it's that spectrum. It's a taster session, but it's also trying to encourage a little bit of competition if the person is going to be that way inclined, if that's what the road that they want to follow, or if it's just about participation and knowing that something is there that they can join. I think that's really important. And as well, Rob, I'm going to say, for a lot of the kids, the children now, they're all in, most of them are in mainstream schools, so they don't really get an opportunity as like people of my age mostly would have went to, like a school, especially for people with sensory disability. So they don't really get a chance to mix with people that often. So things like Mayfest capabilities, they can be the introduction to people, with who are going through similar issues, like, transitioning from primary school to secondary school. And, don't underestimate those contacts either. So, it is it is about competition. Some of it's about competition, and some of it is about social interaction and building your networks. And when you're visually impaired, that can be hard to do.
I've had the pleasure to witness some of the camp abilities as well. It really is. It's brilliant to be able to bring the power of sport, which sometimes we take for granted, to those that might otherwise feel that it wasn't for them. So inclusion is the order of the day. Of course, this year, much of Mayfest is going to take place in a virtual online format, but still, we would encourage you to go, to get involved and to get ready, because it'll make it easier then when it all comes back to a normal world this time next year. And hopefully some of them will look to you, Catherine, and to people like Jason Smith and think, well, I can do that as well. So for the time being anyway, thank you so much for taking the time. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Catherine Walsh.
Thank you, Rob.